Nobody is coming. Say that again slowly. Let it land somewhere deep inside you. Nobody is coming, not the government, not your family, not your friends, not the system that told you to follow the rules. Get the degree, work the job, pay the taxes, and wait patiently for the life you were promised. That life is not coming. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you stop waiting at a door that was never going to open for you, the sooner you can start building something real. Most people will spend their entire lives waiting for the right moment, waiting for permission, waiting for someone to notice them, rescue them, choose them, validate them, and while they wait, the years pass. The opportunities close. The potential that was burning inside them at 20 is a fading ember at 40, and a cold ash at 60. This video is not comfortable. It is not supposed to be. It is a wake-up call, and it is coming from a man whose life, however controversial, however debated, however misunderstood, carries within it a set of truths about reality that most people are too afraid to face. His name is Andrew Tate, and whether you like him or not, what he understands about personal responsibility, about masculine purpose, about the war between comfort and greatness and when it demands to be heard. Picture a young boy in a house where the heat sometimes does not work, where the refrigerator is not always full, where the father, a chess master, a man of extraordinary discipline and intelligence, is frequently absent, working, traveling, pouring himself into a career that keeps the family alive but leaves a quietness in the home that a boy of 8 cannot fully name but absolutely feels. That boy is Andrew Tate, growing up between Washington, D.C. and Luton, England, straddling two worlds belonging completely to neither. In America, he is British. In England, he is American. He is biracial in communities that are not always welcoming of that complexity. He is smart in environments that do not always reward intelligence. He does not have the connections. He does not have the money. He does not have the safety net that cushions the falls of children born into privilege. What he has is a father who, before leaving for long stretches, delivers a philosophy into his son's mind that will take years to fully understand. His father, Emery Tate, a man of fierce brilliance and harder discipline, tells his children something that most parents are too afraid to tell their own. He tells them the world is not fair. He tells them nobody owes them anything. He tells them that greatness is not given. It is taken. It is built. It is forged in the specific fire of deciding that you, and only you, are responsible for the outcome of your life. That message lands in the mind of a young boy who is already watching the world and noticing something that deeply troubles him. He is watching people suffer, and most of the time the suffering is not caused by an enemy outside. It is caused by a choice inside. The choice to wait, the choice to blame, the choice to stay comfortable in a life that is slowly, quietly, painlessly killing everything they could have been. Andrew Tate decided young that he would never make that choice. And the path that followed, brutal, grinding, controversial, extraordinary. It is proof of what happens when a human being takes that decision completely seriously. But do not mistake the decision for the destination, because between the boy who decided and the man who succeeded, there is a valley of suffering so deep that most people who glimpse it turn around and go home. Tate chose kickboxing, not as a hobby, as a war, a deliberate, calculated war against his own limitations, against poverty, against the version of himself that would have been content to stay small. He trained with a ferocity that bordered on self-destruction. He lost fights early in his career. He had his nose broken. He was knocked down physically in ways that mirror the knockdowns most people experience. Emotionally, the rejection, the failure, the public humiliation of not being good enough yet. He was broke. Genuinely, painfully, embarrassingly broke. There are accounts of him living in conditions that would make the average person feel justified in quitting. Eating badly, sleeping in environments that no motivational poster would ever show you, working jobs that had nothing to do with where he wanted to go, just to survive, just to keep moving, just to stay in the fight long enough for the fight to eventually go his way. And here is what that period does to a person. Here is what the darkness that precedes every genuine breakthrough actually feels like from the inside. It feels like you were wrong. It feels like the people who told you to be realistic were right. It feels like the hunger you have been feeding with discipline and sacrifice and refusal to quit is a delusion rather than a vision. It feels like the world is not hostile to your dreams, it is simply indifferent. And somehow indifference is worse than hostility, because at least hostility acknowledges that you exist. Most people break here, not in a dramatic way, not in a way that anyone notices. They just quietly lower their expectations. They just gradually make peace with less. They just slowly and visibly stop fighting and call it growing up. Andrew Tate did not call it growing up. He called it the moment before everything changed. The turning point did not come in a single moment of revelation. It came in the accumulated weight of a decision that was made and remade every single day, even when everything around him argued against it. But there was a moment, a fight in particular, where something crystallized, where the philosophy his father had planted in him as a child met the reality of a man who had been tested, hard enough to know whether it was true. He was fighting for a world championship. The stakes were not just professional, they were existential. This was the moment where years of sacrifice either meant something or they did not. Where the choice to believe in himself over every voice that said he should not, that choice was about to be validated or destroyed. He won, not because fate intervened, not because luck aligned, but because he had done the work that most people are unwilling to do for longer than most people are willing to do it, without the certainty that it would ever pay off. He became a 4-time world kickboxing champion. And in that moment, something permanent shifted in his understanding of how the world works. Something that went far beyond the sport, far beyond the belt, far beyond any external measure of success. He understood, in his bones, in his blood, in the place where conviction lives, that the world yields to the person who refuses to yield to the world. That reality is not a fixed thing. It is a negotiation. And the terms of that negotiation are determined entirely by how much you are willing to endure, to sacrifice, to keep going when every reasonable voice is telling you to stop. That is the turning point, not the championship, the understanding behind it. And this is where we go deeper. Because the lessons embedded in Andrew Tate's journey, stripped of the controversy, stripped of the noise, stripped of everything the internet turns into a battlefield, those lessons are ancient. They are universal. They are available to every human being alive. And they are desperately needed right now. The first truth is this: comfort is the enemy wearing a friendly face. We live in the most comfortable era in human history, and we are, by almost every measurable psychological and spiritual metric, among the most miserable generations that have ever lived. That is not a coincidence. That is a consequence. Comfort tells you that you deserve rest when what you need is resistance. Comfort tells you that struggle is optional when struggle is actually the mechanism through which everything worth having is built. Comfort tells you that a life without pain is a good life, when in fact a life without meaningful challenge is a life that is quietly rotting from the inside. The men and women who have achieved anything of genuine significance throughout human history share one characteristic that has nothing to do with talent or luck or circumstance. They embraced difficulty. They ran toward the hard thing. They understood that the resistance they felt was not a sign that they were going the wrong way. It was a sign that they were going somewhere worth reaching. Your comfort zone is not a place of safety. It is a place of slow decay. Leave it. The second truth is this: accountability is the most powerful force in the universe, and the rarest. Tate's entire philosophy rests on a foundation that most modern culture actively works to dismantle: the foundation of radical personal responsibility. This is not a comfortable idea. It is a liberating one. Because the moment you stop looking for someone to blame, the system, the economy, your upbringing, your circumstances, the people who hurt you, the opportunities that did not come, the moment you truly, completely stop outsourcing the responsibility for your life to external forces, something extraordinary happens. You become powerful, not because your circumstances change immediately, but because your relationship to your circumstances changes entirely. You stop being a passenger in your own story. You become the author. Every victim mentality at its core is a surrender of authorship. It is the decision to let other people and other forces write your story, while you watch and explain why it could not have gone differently. Tate refused that story. Absolutely and without apology. And regardless of what you think about the man, the principle is irrefutable. The day you take complete ownership of your life is the day your life actually begins. The third truth is this: your standards are the architecture of your existence. What you accept determines what you experience. What you tolerate determines what you become. What you demand of yourself, the standard you hold your effort to, your character to, your daily discipline to, that standard is not just a measure of who you are. It is the blueprint of who you will be. Tate trained his body to a world championship level not because he needed to be a world champion to have a good life. He trained it to that level because the process of holding yourself to an elite standard in one area of your life changes the way you hold yourself to standards in every area of your life. When you teach your body that it can endure more than it wants to, you teach your mind the same lesson. When you train yourself to keep going past the point where stopping feels reasonable, you build an internal architecture that translates into business, into relationships, into every domain where greatness requires you to do what is hard when the easy option is right there. Your standards are either a ceiling keeping you small or a floor keeping you from falling. Raise them, relentlessly, without apology, without waiting for someone else to validate the height you are aiming for. The fourth truth is this: the world will only take you as seriously as you take yourself. There is a version of you that the world sees and responds to. That version is not created by what you say about yourself. It is created by what you demand of yourself, by how you carry yourself, by the evidence of your daily choices that accumulates over months and years into either a reputation for strength or a reputation for excuses. Tate understood early that the world is not a place that rewards potential. It rewards proof. It does not care what you could do. It responds to what you have done, what you have built, what you have sacrificed to build it. The most expensive thing you own is your time. And what you invest that time in is a declaration to the universe about what you believe you are worth. Most people are investing their time in things that declare they are worth very little. Endless entertainment, endless distraction, endless consumption of other people's lives through screens while their own life sits unbuilt in the background. Every hour you spend building yourself is a vote for the version of you that the world will eventually have to take seriously. Vote consistently, vote daily. Vote like your life depends on it, because it does. I want to step out of the lessons for a moment and speak directly to something that I know is sitting in you right now. Because some of you watching this are not failing because you are lazy. You are not stuck because you are weak. You are not still waiting because you do not want to move. You are waiting because you are afraid. And the fear is not irrational. It is the completely understandable response of a person who has tried before and been hurt, who has wanted before and been disappointed, who has believed before and been shown that belief alone is not enough. And somewhere along the way, waiting started to feel safer than trying. I understand that. We all understand that. But here's what I need you to hear. With everything this video has been building toward, the cost of that safety is your life. Not dramatically, not all at once, day by day, year by year. The person you were supposed to become is getting further away from the person you are allowing yourself to be. And one day, one ordinary, unremarkable, completely avoidable day, you will look back at the distance between those two people and feel something that is far worse than the pain of trying and failing. You will feel the grief of a life unlived. Andrew Tate grew up without certainty, without safety, without the guarantees that most people wait to have before they start. He did not have a safety net. He had a philosophy. He had a standard. He had the absolute refusal to be saved by anything other than his own relentless effort. And that refusal, that fierce, uncompromising, sometimes abrasive refusal to wait for someone else to make his life work, it built something. Not just wealth, not just fame, something more fundamental. It built a man who could look at himself in the mirror and know, without doubt, without caveat, without needing anyone else to confirm it, that he had given everything he had to the life he was given. That is what is available to you right now. Not a guarantee of success. Nobody can promise you that. But the unshakable self-respect of a person who refused to sleepwalk, who refused to wait, who chose the hard, real, demanding, magnificent life of someone who decided that they were going to be the author of their own story, regardless of what it cost them. That choice is available to you right now. this second. So here is where we end. Here is the challenge I am leaving in your hands. Nobody is coming to save you. Let that be the most liberating sentence you have ever heard, not the most terrifying. Because if nobody is coming to save you, then nobody is coming to stop you either. If the responsibility is entirely yours, then so is the power, entirely, completely, without limit. The game is not rigged against the person who refuses to quit. The game is only rigged against the person who is waiting for different rules before they start playing. Start today. Not with a grand gesture, not with a dramatic announcement. Start with the one thing you have been avoiding because it is hard. The conversation you have been putting off. The discipline you have been delaying. The standard you have been too comfortable to hold yourself to. Start there. Just there. Just one decision that your old self would not have made, and then make that decision again tomorrow. And the day after. And the day after that. Until the accumulation of those decisions builds a person that the world cannot ignore. A person that you cannot ignore when you look in the mirror. Tate trained his body to the highest level possible, not because the belt mattered, but because the standard mattered. Because the person you become in the pursuit of something exceptional is more valuable than any trophy the pursuit can produce. Pursue something exceptional, not because someone told you to, not because the world will reward you for it immediately, but because you are capable of it. Because somewhere inside you, beneath the comfort and the waiting and the quiet resignation, there is a person who knows exactly what they were built for. That person is not a fantasy. That person is not a previous version of you that has passed its expiry date. That person is you, right now, today. But they need you to stop waiting. They need you to wake up. They need you to understand completely finally, with no more excuses and no more delays, that nobody is coming. Nobody is coming. Which means the only person who can build the life you were meant to live is you. Now wake up and go build it.